Shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach, Malaki Bashai, double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying. They're fasting. They're studying. They're being diligent. And they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters that are out there zealous, diligent, and on fire, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom to the ancient men. Shalom to the children. Shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to everybody tuning in live through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach Yahushai, HBK Lit, Shalom King, Benjamin Youngwolf, Shalom, Nadiah Israel, Aka Rectitude, Hing, Nakamaya Shalom King, Bahashima Mashiach Shalom, Pete Branch, Anthony Knox, Danielle Lauderdale, Jadiz Delphius, Yahweh's Chosen, Don Israel to me, Shalom King, Gabriel Shalom, Azaziah from the Bay, Shalom King, Brother Azariah Shalom, and again, everybody else that's tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing, on a mighty Sabbath, right? A mighty Shabbat through the spirit and power of Yahweh. We're going to dive right into it. Again, if you're watching, if you're tapped into the prophecies, if you're tapped into the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, these are world elites that are these elite bankers, right? These top financial institution owners, corporate leaders, and a world elite have just met. They've actually just finished up their annual World Economic Forum Summit, right? Davos 2026 Antichrist and Lucifer's Council. That's the name of the lesson. Davos 2026 Antichrist and Lucifer's Council, right? These elites have just wrapped up 5 days of pure mayhem, pure council, pure wicked gathering of sowing discord, how they're going to rule the world, what agendas they have in store for the children of men, what gods they're going to allow people to worship, who's going to control what new territories are going to be taken over, what's the new plot for the world domination. All these things are discussed at the World Economic Forum, and that's just one of the many different so-called think tanks that these devils are involved in, right? And we're going to touch on what goes on in these think tanks, these dark councils that are going on behind the scenes, who Lucifer is he involved within these councils, and the spirit of Antichrist in the last days. So there's a lot going on and a lot of prophecy unfolding, right? There's a lot of prophecy unfolding through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Lord willing, the word can have free course, right? But I want to kick it off first and foremost with Isaiah the 33rd chapter, right? There's a lot going on in the earth, man. So I want to kick it off with Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. And this is important because in the world of instability, in the world of surprises, in the world of the nations and their secret plots and plans and stress and worrying and anxiety, there's only one thing that's going to keep the men of the Lord stable, and you righteous woman. What's going to keep us stable when everybody's panicking? What's going to keep us stable when everybody's on the edge of their seat? When everybody's surprised at war and destruction? What's going to separate us, first and foremost, is the wisdom and knowledge of these scriptures, right? Reading the word of the Most High, applying the word of the Most High, taking the counsel that Yahweh Ba'ashmi has given us through his holy apostles and prophets and men of the Lord, taking that counsel of reading, studying, praying, fasting, examining our spirits, gathering together, repenting, putting off the old man. That's what's going to keep us stable. Understanding the judgments that are going on in the earth, right? And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. So the strength of our salvation is applying the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High, not the wisdom and knowledge of the world, not the wisdom and knowledge from the spiritual demon Satan, not from your stepfather, right? Not from your grandmother, but what's written. Are you living what's written, right? Are you living what's written? That's going to be your strength. Or are you moving as a hypocrite? The fear of the Lord is going to be our treasure, right? The fear of the Lord is going to be our treasure. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 39, right? Let's go to Sirach chapter. Actually, I want to get 51. I want to go to Sirach 51. I want to get a few precepts before we actually dive, deep into it. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 51, and I'm going to start at verse number, let's start at 10. Sirach chapter 51 and 10. I called upon the Lord, the Father of my Lord, that he would not leave me in the days of my trouble and in the time of the proud when there was no help. And these are these days that we're living in now, but it's really going into the days of Jacob's trouble, the days of persecution. What spirit do we have to be in to keep us stable, to keep us from being sifted out, to keep us from being plucked out this truth, to keep us from having the Holy Spirit taken away from us? These are the days where you got a lot of brothers bugging out, a lot of men falling back into the world, back to the old man. What's going to keep the servants of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai 10 toes down? It's first and foremost applying the knowledge and wisdom, but also calling on the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. That the Most High directs your steps in sincerity and purity, that he guides you in the right direction, that the Most High doesn't give you over to your own lust and your own devices, right? Let me read this again. I called upon the Lord, and that's a literal act. That's not an idea. That's a literal thing that our fathers did. They called upon Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, that he would not leave me in the days of my trouble and in the time of the proud when there was no help. Because we're not going to have any help, huh? I mean, we've never had it, first and foremost. But how much more when these devils rise up against us, when they begin to go door to door to door, when you're public enemy number one, when you're outcast, when all nations hate you for this truth. Verse 11, I will praise thy name continually, and will sing praise with thanksgiving, and so my prayer was heard. For thou savest me from destruction, and deliverest me from the evil time. Therefore will I give thanks and praise thee, and bless thy name, O Lord. So our fathers in the day of trouble, in the days of affliction, they were always calling on the name of the Most High. And Yahushua said, I'm gonna go back to that, but I want to get this in Luke 18 and 1. Right? This is the book of St. Luke, chapter 18 and verse 1. And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Right? And that's heavy, man, to be calling on the Most High, day and night. There's another precept I'm gonna get, Most High willing, in Isaiah chapter 62. But the Most High said, give them no rest. If you're not calling on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, then you're going to fall out. We need to amp up the times that we pray, examine what we're praying for, right? And always pray to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And don't faint, man. Because when you stop praying, you stop calling on the name of the Lord, and you stop getting to these scriptures, the spirit is going to slowly leak out of you. And as every ounce of the spirit leaks out of you, it is replaced with demons that once left you. And you see people fainting in the way they're fainting in this race because they're not hydrated. You know, they're not intaking this water. Hey, the sun, and I'm speaking parabolically, the sun is getting hot, and it's about to be noonday. You got ears to hear. And once the sun reaches high noon, if you haven't prepared your spirit by hydrating and taking in the word of the Most High, you're going to faint. And praying to the Most High, the Lord is going to give you that water. He's going to constantly nurture your spirit and keep you in the way. He's going to honor those men that are praying on him because those men are acknowledging Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua. And they know that they need the Most High. And that's who the Most High is looking for. He's looking for the saints that know that they need him, that he's their God, that there is no Savior but the Most High. Right? Let me get Isaiah chapter 62. Right? These aren't the days to be, you praying once a day and your mind all over the place when you're praying and, you're preoccupied with the world. These are the days to really be, we're going to need the Most High more than ever. Let me get this in Isaiah chapter 62 and 6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace, day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence, and give him no rest till he establish, until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Now, last time I checked, Jerusalem is not a praise in the earth, man. The city is downtrodden by Amalek. There's homosexual cities, wicked sacrifices, kosher cigarettes, kosher pork, bombs and bloodshed, nuclear plants, and molestation and absolute folly going on. Jerusalem is not a praise. The actual city and the actual people, us, because we represent Jerusalem, no matter where we are. Now, what are we supposed to do? The Lord said the men of the Lord are never going to hold their peace day nor night. And the Lord said, if you make mention of his name, keep not silence. The Lord want to hear you call on him. See, that's something, if you don't know about Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua, the Most High loves to be praised. The Most High is a jealous power, a jealous God. His name is jealous. The Most High said he will visit the iniquity of the children until the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. If you're making mention of the Most High, never stop. Keep throwing up those prayers. Keep throwing up those curses on the enemies, man. The blessings are on Israel. Examine yourself. Call on the Most High for strength, for repentance, to uplift you, to strengthen you. Do not keep silence. Because I'm going to tell you something. You know who's not keeping silence? These devils. They're always having councils. They're always convening about how to destroy the earth, how to take away the mind of the children of Israel, how to fight against Yahushua. What weapons can they use to fight against their creator? They're always talking. They got summits and think tanks and all types of crafty plots and plans. They always dealing with Satan. See, priests in the ancient world, they had to stay in that tabernacle, that temple, and they had to constantly do the work of the Lord. They didn't have vacation. They didn't have sick time. They didn't have PTO. They had to constantly stay in that temple. And these devils, they're doing that on the left-hand side. And the Most High, he said, and give him no rest. Give him no rest. That's like your children constantly saying, Dad, 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 Dad. Right? At first, you might, hey, I'm doing this, hey, I'm reading, hey, Dad, Dad, Dad. They don't give you no rest. And you get, okay, what do you want? What can I do for you? So the Most High, he wants you to not give him any rest. And if you really need the Most High, you're going to keep calling on the Most High, like a son who needs his father. David said, let me get this. I'm going to dive into it. I just want to get this. And Psalms 83 and 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. So there are a plethora of precepts that speak about the men of the Lord not keeping silence, and even the Heavenly Father. The Lord is going to stir himself up and not keep silence. These ain't the days to be holding your peace. You're going to die if you hold your peace. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Right? Life and death is in the power of the tongue in the last days. You hold your peace. You ain't calling on the Most High. You're not praying. You're not out here teaching the children of Israel. You're not casting out these spirits, doing the service of the Heavenly Father. You're going to fall out in the world. But those men that are calling on the Most High, they not holding their peace. They on their hands and knees, bowing down to the earth, smiting their chest in humility, asking the Most High for protection, for guidance, for wisdom and understanding, discretion. That's who the Most High is going to work with. These are not the days to keep silence. These are not the days to be holding your peace. Because all hell is breaking loose on the earth, man. You got Iran about to get invaded. Now we're watching to wait to see, but they're saying there's a collaboration between the state of Israel and America. You just had this World Economic Forum. You got all types of prophecies unfolding. And you got brothers just sitting around twinkling their fingers and their thumbs. You know? These ain't those days, man. So let me go back to this. Right? Sirach chapter 51 and 12 again. For thou savest me from destruction and deliverest me from the evil time. Therefore will I give thanks and praise thee and bless thy name, O Lord. Right? Let's go to Acts 4. Right? We're going to get one more real quick. And we're going to dive into it. Right? This is Acts. You know what? Let me get Acts 18. Right? Both of these accounts are good. Right? But this is Acts chapter 18 and verse number 9. Acts 18 and 9. Then spake up the Lord to Paul in the night by a vision. Be not afraid, but speak, and hold not thy peace. How many precepts do we have to get into? You brothers that all you like to do is just pray in your mind out loud. I mean, in your mind within. There's no sin in that. But we need to start getting in the habit, really. In all honesty, we have to start getting in the habit of you brothers that don't do it, call on Yahweh. I'm talking out loud, verbally. In your house, man. Put that spirit in your house. In the name of his son, Yahweh Shai. You brothers that are timid, I don't know, I'm kind of shy. I don't want to call. You're not giving it. This ain't a high school speech, man. You calling on the creator of heaven and earth. What do you mean you too shy? If you too shy to call on the Most High, you're not going to make it. If you too cool to call on the Most High in your house, and you're not going to make it. Be not afraid. The Lord said, be careful of nothing. And Philippians 4 and 6 on down. Don't be careful, man. Don't stress. The Most High is here for you. He wants you to call on him. How many precepts are about how the Most High is going to guide you? Lean out of your own understanding. Trust in the Lord. Don't be afraid. If you're dealing with a demon, a spirit that you can't overcome, only the Most High can take that spirit from you. Only the Most High can help you with your lust. Only the Most High can help you with your depression. Only the Most High can help you with your fear of man. Only the Most High can help you from your stress. Only Yahweh Ba'asham Shai can do these things. But if you're afraid and you're not bold and confident, then you're going to struggle with those spirits. But if you speak and don't hold your peace and believe, we know all things are possible to him that believeth. Let me read on. We're going to dive into it. Acts 18 and 10. For I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. And the Lord got a lot of Israelites in this city, man. This city is Babylon the Great. Now, this applies to the city that Paul was actually in, but nevertheless, we're speaking about these last days. And the Most High said he's with us. And no man shall set on thee to hurt thee. So as we touch on this lesson and see the different plots and plans that these devils got, and what's going on behind the scenes, we don't fear that. You think that that the men of the Lord are losing sleep at night over the counsels of these devils? Do you think we're nervous? Oh my God, they said they're doing. No, first of all, the Most High, he is in control. And he worketh on the left hand. And he worketh on the right. And we know and believe that no man shall set on thee to hurt thee. Because you got a lot of brothers, they worried about their children, worried about their wife, worried about their life and what's going to happen to them. The Lord is with us, man. There are angels about us. All you have to do is keep calling on the Most High, man. Literally, verbally, out loud. Call on Yahweh Ba'ashmi Abashah. Praise the Most High, man. Talk about the Most High's wonderful works. Do these things, man. Ask the Most High to deliver you from those demons, from evil spirits. Pray for protection. And do not faint. Right? Let me get this one real quick, and I want to kind of dive into it. Luke 18:7. And shall not the Most High avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? See, the elect have particular characteristics about them. Now, nobody knows who's the elect, but this is one of the signs to show who's the elect. Now, if you are trying to understand, are you one of the elect? You'll never know to that day, but one of the indicators is that you're going to be crying to the Most High day and night, complaining about this oppression, sighing and crying for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof, vexed because of this captivity, and literally calling on the Most High, groaning in the spirit. It didn't say just in the daytime, but then in the nighttime they all freak off. Okay, they call on the Lord in the nighttime, but the daytime they selling their soul. It says, which cry unto him day and night, though he bear long with them. What does that mean, though he bear long with them? It means the elect, despite the cries that they're going through and how real it is, the Most High is patient, right? And he's watching us call on him, every single one of us. And he's bearing long with us until that set time, right? Verse 8, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? And this is a heavy hitter question right here. This is a heavy hitter. Yeah, you're calling on the Most High, but are you enduring? When things really go down, are you still going to believe? And this question, or this statement and question, is put together because the Lord knows that the trouble is coming. Affliction is coming. Betrayal is coming. Famine is coming. Persecution is coming. Economic collapse is coming. World War III is coming. Death is coming. So yes, you believe now when you have a place to sleep, you got food in your refrigerator, you got a shelter over your head, you got a job, you got income, you can make ends meet. Yes, you believe now, but are you going to believe when we have absolutely nothing and need Yahweh Shah? Brother might feel like he don't need the Lord, man, because he has access to things to sustain him. But when all things are taken away, are you still going to believe in the Most High? Right? These are the things that we got to ask ourselves, man. Right? These are the things that we have to ask ourselves. So nevertheless, Davos 2026, it says what a spirit of dialogue really means for your wallet. So if you've been watching out there in Switzerland, right, which is the headquarters of the annual World Economic Forum meeting, which is really a meeting and a gathering of the global elites, ranging from prime ministers to presidents to top Fortune 500 CEOs to financial bankers, international bankers, world elites. It's a meeting and an agenda that is set up to do the will of man and not the will of God. That's all it is. It's set up on how can we further push man's program and take away the Most High. So the theme for this year was a spirit of dialogue. A spirit of dialogue. And really, it's when they say a spirit, every spirit is not a good spirit. This was the theme for the meeting. Trump was there, right? The Prime Minister of Canada, world leaders, top CEOs, it was all types of madness there, man. And what spirit of dialogue was it? Because we're in a spirit of dialogue right now. We're going over the precepts, edification, the word of the Most High. We're in the Old Testament, we're in the New Testament, we're in the Apocrypha. Yes, this is a spirit of dialogue, an exchange of words. Right? The Lord said, they that fear the Lord spake often one to another. That's about the laws, the commandments, Yahweh Shai. That's on the right-hand side. Then you got a spirit of dialogue on the left-hand side. A spirit of dialogue is a demonic counsel. Here, that's what this is. This spirit was a spirit of rebellion, a spirit of pride, a spirit of lust, a spirit of vanity, and a spirit of absolute mayhem. That was the spirit out there. And they were dialoguing, but they were dialoguing about wickedness and confusion. That's all this was, right? So it says this week, and this was Monday, right? All these global leaders came in Monday, and this is in the Bible. What we're about to go into, believe it or not, is actually in the Bible. It reads, this week, 3,000 global leaders gather in Davos under a deceptively simple theme, a spirit of dialogue. But behind the alpine scenery and networking, something more concrete is happening. A collective forecast where money, policy, and opportunity are heading in 2026. Because what they do is they come together and they forecast for, meaning they're seeing in the future. They're showing you what life is going to be like, what's going to be happening to the children of men, how the economy is going to change, what country is going to be in power. And when you watch some of the clips of this World Economic Forum, remember everything, two things. One, all these guys are actors. I just got to come out and say that. They all playing on the same team. It's a theater. You might say, because you got Edomites and these different people coming out and saying, well, Trump came into the World Economic Forum and he's trying to break off from the globalists, and Americans are going to do their own thing, and this country, they're doing their own thing. All of these prime ministers, every president, every world leader is selected, and they all play on the same team. But the theatrics behind it is to make you believe that there's division around them, so you can get caught up in it. So all these guys on the same team, I don't care what you're looking at. They all work for the same global elites. That's all. And what they do, or the other thing I was going to say is, you see public clips about what they say and what this agenda is going to be and how this is going to affect you. But remember that everything is not televised. Everything's not televised. Just because you saw, what you see is like when you watch WWE. You have people Salakia, who really believe that WWE is real. They literally think the Undertaker, for brothers who know who the Undertaker is, they literally think the Undertaker rose from the dead, you know, and he could just turn the lights off and pop up in the ring. They really think that stuff is real, man. That people could pull fire down, and that stuff is called entertainment. You know, that stuff is entertainment. So what you see publicly is entertainment. Now, I'm gonna say one more thing. The World Economic Forum is not the top council. There are levels to councils in the scriptures, and there are levels to councils even in the world. I want to get a quick precept real quick in the book of Exodus. Right? The World Economic Forum is not the top council. There are levels to councils. Right? There are levels to councils. This is this is Jethro counsels Moses, but I want to touch on this real quick. This is Exodus chapter 18 and verse number 21. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear the Most High, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. This was the counsel that Jethro gave Moses. Jethro was Moses' father-in-law. And as Jethro saw how Moses was handling all these counsels and matters of judgment, he saw that it would burn Moses out. It was inefficient, you know? So Jethro, through the spirit of the Most High, that the Most High put on his spirit, told him, set up tiered councils, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. This is what you get your modern day judicial system from, right? Your district court, your circuit court, all the way up to your Supreme Court, etc. So when you have rulers of tens, the man that ruled over 10, if there was a matter between the men that he was over, he handled that counsel. If he couldn't handle that counsel because of a lack of wisdom or a lack of understanding, or the matter was too hard for him, you had councils, you had the ruler of 50 that would handle that. Then that would escalate to the ruler of 100. Then that would escalate to the ruler of 1,000. And ultimately that would go up to Moses. So you had different tiered councils based off of your level of understanding, right? Verse 22, and let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So it shall be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. Right. And that's beautiful wisdom, because you can't handle everything. So you're going to set up men in different tiers to handle matters that pertain to the nation, right? To handle matters that pertain to judgment and equity and justice. So you had different councils back then. The top, if your council made it up to Moses, then that was an extremely weighty matter. That was an extremely weighty matter. So even on the left-hand side, you have when your congressman meet, that's a low-level thing. Your mayor and the people around your mayor, that is an extremely low-level council. If you're in the city of Chicago and your mayor is having a meeting, that is one of the lowest level councils of all time. Then it goes to your governor, then a senator, etc. The World Economic Forum is a council, but it is not the highest level, right? It's not the highest. There are higher councils above that. Like the Lord said, let me get this in Ecclesiastes 5. This Ecclesiastes, let me get this. I have to get this precept. Ecclesiastes, let's see, higher than they. Let me get this real quick. With the Most High said that there be judges higher than they, right? Let me get this. So Salaki, I didn't plan on getting this precept, right? I may have overlooked it, but let me get this in Ecclesiastes. I was looking right over it. Salakia, I had it right there. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and 8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor, and violent perverting of judgment and justice in the province, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. So what does that mean? It means that you're not going to be able to bring justice to every matter on the earth. You're only one person, and you don't always have the resources or the wherewithal to deliver somebody from injustice. And that might vex you. That might burn you out. You might be upset about that. The Lord said, don't marvel too much. Don't trip. Because you have higher powers that are looking at that above you in the heavens. First of all, you got the angels watching. Then higher than them, you got the archangels watching. And who's higher than them? Yahweh Shai. Who's over Yahweh Shai? Yahweh. So just because you're not able to solve that matter and deliver that person from being oppressed, the Most High will. Yahweh will. So even in the heavens, there's rank and order. There's always someone higher and above another. And there's nobody above the Most High, Yahweh himself, the creator of heaven and earth, the God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? This is on the right-hand side, which represents righteousness. But also this happens on the left-hand side, which represents evil. The Most High works on the left-hand side. Let's get that in Job 19. This is Job, right? Chapter, let's see, is that what I want? 19, right? Let me get this real quick. Bear with me. Job 23, Salakia, right? All praise to the Most High. Job chapter 23 and verse 8. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. Right? You want to find the Most High, you want to draw nigh to the Lord, and the Lord will distance himself, right? He'll remove himself at times from man, right? For his own will. Verse 9. On the left hand, where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him. So the Most High works on the left-hand side, and the Most High works on the right-hand side. The right-hand side are all of the righteous spirits, spirits of judgment. These are all the angels, the spirits of purity, our angels, the archangels, Yahweh Shai. All of those spirits are on the right-hand side. And he does work on the right-hand side. That's how we're in the truth, because the Most High was working on the right-hand side. That's how we were able to make it home from work or wherever you were at, because the Most High was working on the right-hand side to protect you. But the Most High also works on the left hand. That's where there's murder. That's where there's lies, adultery, deceit, wars, destruction. That's where you have councils like Davos 2026, because that is a council on the left hand where the Most High doth work. He does work, right? And he puts the ideas in the minds of men to do his bidding, right? So let me go back to this, because we got a lot we got to get into. I'm gonna read this again. So this is Davos 2026, a spirit of dialogue. What is that, or what does that really mean for your wallet? So this spirit of dialogue is really a council on the left-hand side where the Lord is working. And the Lord has evil spirits on the minds of these leaders to do the will of man and not the will of God. So this week, 3,000 global leaders gather in Davos under a deceptively simple theme, a spirit of dialogue. And why is it deceptive? Because, this is such an innocent thing, right? It's just a spirit of dialogue. We're just bouncing ideas back and forth, but it's deceptive because the ideas and dialogue is about the destruction of man and the opposition of God. So yes, it's deceptively themed, that term, right? But behind the alpine scenery and networking, something more concrete is happening, a collective forecast where money, policy, and opportunity are heading in 2026, right? In 2026. So that's the World Economic Forum, right? In simple terms, it's an international advocacy, non-governmental organization, and think tank, right? Based in colony canton of Geneva, Switzerland. It was founded January 24th in 1971 by German engineer Klaus Schwab. And as we dive deeper into it, you're going to find out that Klaus Schwab, he's really a full-fledged demon, man. This guy's a full-fledged demon. For brothers that never seen Klaus Schwab, he's the founder of the World Economic Forum, and he has some sinister quotes, some sinister, evil quotes. Let me see if I can find one real quick. Right? We just type in evil. Look, they got bad quotes. Right? Let me see what they got. Let's see. Look at this. The pandemic, talking about what happened 2019 on out, represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. So all of the people that allegedly he said was dying, he said that was an opportunity for a reset of our world. Right? So this guy, look, he has the quote, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." He's the king of Davos, right? So he pretty much is one of the puppets to promote the New World Order. He's one of the top left-hand side prophets. He's really a prophet on the left-hand side, right? He's really one of the prophets on the left-hand side who's prophesying about a one world government and a great reset, right? He's one of those false prophets. And it was a precept I was thinking of. Most High willing it comes back to me, but he's one of those false prophets, or the scriptures call him a prognosticator, right? A prognosticator. So this guy, he runs, or he used to run, the World Economic Forum, and he was hand selected, believe it or not, he was hand selected by the Rockefellers. He was hand selected by the Rockefellers to run the World Economic Forum. Okay. Now he's the face of it, but he's not running it. Right? He's not running this council. All right. It's a think tank. Now, for brothers that don't know what a think tank is, or a deep think tanks are found in the Bible, right? That's what Psalms 83 is about. Psalms 83 is about a think tank. Psalms 64 is about a think tank. Psalms, the second chapter, the beginning of it, is about a think tank. Okay? So it says, deep think tanks often refer to organizations that provide in-depth research heavy and often long-term policy analysis, right? Or in a specialized context, the deep brain stimulation think tank, a group focused on neuromodulation. So it's really an organization of elites that come together to be able to discuss the future without God, a future without the Most High, and a future on how to keep us away from our heritage, how to destroy the Lord when he returns, and how to harvest up all of the resources of the earth, control all of the finances of the earth, and control the people. These are what they call think tanks, right? Let's just do regular think tanks or deep think tanks. Here's a better definition, right? Think tanks are research and advocacy organizations, often non-governmental or affiliated with universities, that generate policy analysis on topics like economics, foreign affairs, and social issues to influence government, media, and public opinion, right? So they pretty much just come together to plot. And we're not invited. What you'll never see at these think tanks is an Israelite with fringes on and a mitri with a staff in his hand, a shofar, a border of blue, a Bible. You will never see him. He's not invited. But you will see all the other nations there. So the World Economic Forum is just a think tank, a council to promote a global agenda. That's all it is, right? Now, with these think tanks, some of them are surface level. Some of these are surface level, but they are ran by the Rothschilds, they're ran by the Rockefellers, they're funded by international bankers, and they're funded by that 1%. So their agendas are the agendas of the elites. That's what their agendas are. The puppets that they use to promote it are men like Trump, men like Macron, men like Stromer, of France and England, men like Netanyahu. They'll use these guys, but really, those guys are following orders. Those guys are doing nothing but following orders. Now, let me get this real quick. One of the think tanks, I want to touch on this real quick. Actually, I wanted to get this too. At these think tanks is a lot of lewdness. There's a lot of lewdness that goes on in these think tanks. There's wicked sacrifices, confusion, vanity, right? This says, I don't even know if I can say this word, right? Porgies, violence against women, and more. World elite may have spent nearly, what is this, 10, I don't know what currency this is. I have to go back and look it up. 10 core on escorts during World Economic Forum in Davos. So when these world elites come together, they don't just come together and think about how to stop climate change. This is a ceremony. These things are rituals, right? Let's see how much 10 core is, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Right? Let's see in US dollars. Damn, that's a lot of money. Right? Look at that, man. Right? They are spending money. 10 crow, right? I know I'm butchering it. 10 crow is equal to 100 million. 100 million. So let's go back to this. At the World Economic Forum, they're spending at least 100 million on prostitutes, escorts. So when they get there, I mean, they're freaking off. Sacrifices, lust, folly, It reads, now this is January 27th, 2025. So this ain't nothing from 30 years ago. This year, the global elite have not only flocked to Davos for the meeting, but have been accompanied by inappropriate guests, escorts. Their demand has increased more than ever among those attending the event. So these are the men, the world elite. These are the powers that govern the world that people put their trust in. They're spending, the world elite comes together and collectively spends $100 million. They're supposed to be governing the world, saving humanity, reducing carbon footprint, lowering the temperature for global warming. This is what they say they're doing. They're going there to do God knows what. right? To do God knows what. Now, I'm not going to read this whole article. I found this very interesting. But when you read the rest of this article, it gets extremely graphic and detailed about what these world elites are involved in. I can say that's just one article. I don't know. Maybe it's not real, or you don't have to believe it, right? I'm gonna touch on one part real quick. I got to get this. I'm not gonna read this whole thing. They say, and I'm gonna tell you this. You think all these world elites are hiring women escorts? You probably they be look. All these escorts ain't women. Now, how is it? Well, what percentages? I don't know what percentage it is. Is it 45, 55, 50, 50, 60, 40, 30? I don't know. No. Right? But you know, how these devils get, man. These world elites and what they into. Now, hold on, let me jump down because there's a part I wanted. Right? Bear with me. I want to jump down a little bit. Right? The power of the Most High and His Son Yahweh Shah. Right? Let me know if you could hear me. It's lagging a little bit. All right. Look at this. Salat, if you got kids watching, tell the kids they gotta leave the room for a minute. Right? We just gotta call it how it is. Tell the kid gotta leave the minute as I touch on this. Right? Let me know if you can hear me. Right? Let me know if you can hear me through the spirit. All right, you can hear me, Khan. Okay, all right. All praise to the Most High. See, every time, look, man, I'm gonna come out and say it. Every time we kind of start diving deep into what these devils into, for some reason, only on a Shabbat does the live jamming up. I did the new moon lesson. That was well. We did the Monday night fire. There was no hiccup. Then you kind of start diving really deep and doing a deep dive. You do a deep dive and then all hell start breaking loose. Right? You do a deep. The Monday night fire was a clean lesson. All praise to the Most High. On don't faint. The new moon lesson through the Spirit of the Most High was a clean lesson on exhortation. Then you start diving deep until these devils, then all hell breaks loose. Right here, I'm not gonna read them. You can read. Look, you can read on your own. It says, I think physical attacks on escort ladies, for example, to live out a certain fetish are absolutely conceivable. Susan from the Swiss escort avant-garde agency told the publication. So they're in there doing God knows what, man. They beating on these women, beating on these men, popping them, probably killing them and getting away with murder. So there's all types of confusion going on at these summits. It's not just your leader up there with a suit and tie talking about a damn climate change. Now, I'm not going to read that. You can read this on your own. but they're doing all manner of confusion and wickedness, right? All manner of confusion and wickedness. So I want to jump back up, right? So let's go. Let me get a quick precept real quick. Slacking. They got this lagging, right? So again, you got violence against women. They go there, and again, I'm led to believe these guys probably get away with murder. I mean, who's going to arrest them? Who's going to say no? You think they? You think the police? You think that no? Who's going to bring them to court? Prostitutes are very vulnerable, and when you a world elite, you could do whatever you want to do. And they show you that. One more point. They show you that in the movie Eyes Wide Shut. Have you seen Eyes Wide Shut? It's an older movie back in the day, but the brothers ain't see that. Go watch that. It's with Tom Cruise, and he's this doctor, physician, and he end up getting too deep. And these illuministic ceremonies, and he had nothing but prostitutes all in there, and they was offering them up, you know. So let me get this quick precept in Ephesians. Right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 6. This is Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. So be strong in the Most High. Put bank on these scriptures. Use this Bible for your advantage to strengthen you when you're weak, right? A lot of people, you go to the bottle, you go to a blunt, right? Sex and flesh and lust when you're feeling weak instead of utilizing the word of the Most High. That's what it means to be strong in the Lord. Applying the precepts that the Most High gave us, right? Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So Satan is coming through trickery, deception, right? For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So our opposition is deeper than we may think. Jake say that's an op over there. That's my op, and they're talking about a brother that looked just like them. Right? They same flesh and blood. Our opposition that we fight against is deeper than flesh and blood. It's deeper than man. We're really fighting against the rulers of the darkness of this world. We're fighting against spiritual wickedness in high places. A lot of these elites, world elites, they're into heavy spiritual wickedness. What I just showed in that article, that's low-level wickedness. Now you can say, well, how's that low-level wickedness? The violence on women, and there's levels of sin. There are sins that are punishable by death. There are sins where you get put to death. You got sins where there's a sacrifice. It's a sin where you can just bring a meat off. So there are levels, right? There are levels to wickedness. And we got to understand that we're constantly being, a lot of you brothers already know this, but you newer brothers, you newer sisters, we have to understand that we're dealing with high level wicked councils and demons on the left-hand side, right? The rulers of the darkness of this world. These are these top global world leaders, people that you don't even see. And spiritual wickedness in high places are the demons and evil spirits that work on the left-hand side. You have demons that control entire regions. That's called a principality. The Most High assigns demons or angels to particular places, particular countries, particular regions, cities. Certain cities are known for certain demons, how we always say. Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, they're known for murder. There's a heavy murder principality there. San Francisco, Tel Aviv, Madrid, Spain, though there's a heavy homosexual spirit there, right? So every spirit is different based off where the Most High assigns those demons, because they are assigned to particular areas. Now, let me get this as well. So these are some of the low-level rulers of the darkness of this world, low-level councils. You have this is just a quick picture. You have your G20, right? You have your G7, formerly, your G8. These are your countries that come together. And they speak about the agenda that they want to push man in. What's the new financial system going to be? How are we going to trade? What is this law going to be about? All of these nations work in cahoots with one another. Right? You can say, well, I thought China was America's enemy. I thought Russia. All of these nations are in bed with one another in some form or fashion. And then you have your G7. So you have your G20. You can see that. Then your G7. Your G7 summits, Italy, Japan, Canada, Italy, United States, Germany, France, right? In America, that's your G7 summits. The G7 summits are more of a higher level summit. And these are summits that speak about global policy, that speak about NATO, that speak about trade, that speak about the EU, that speak about the upcoming wars. These are different summits. And again, who's not invited? We're not invited. We're not invited. And in these summits, they often talk about the Hebrew Israelites. Now you can say, well, how do you know? Have you ever been to one? Is there any proof? I don't have any proof. You don't have to believe me. The Bible validates exactly what I'm saying. It supports what I'm saying. That in these councils, they're talking about the children of Israel. That's one summit. Then you have, hold on, let me get this. I just want to touch on a few summits. You have your Trilateral Commission, right? And this was founded by David Rockefeller, right? He's one of those top elite families. And this looks like a 666. But the Trilateral Commission, let's pull this up for brothers that never heard of the Trilateral Commission. Okay, let's pull this up. The Trilateral Commission is a private, non-governmental, and nonpartisan discussion group. So they call it a discussion group. It's really a secret council. Founded in 1973 by American banker David Rockefeller. And David Rockefeller is a full-fledged demon. He's a full-fledged homosexual. He's a full-fledged rapist. His grandfather is a full-fledged rapist. Believe it or not, David Rockefeller's grandfather, or his great-grandfather, his nickname was actually Devil Bill. Look it up. Devil Bill. He was known as the devil, right? In reality, they called him the devil. So he comes from, when we call a so-called white man a devil, everybody knows that. So these intentions, anything with his name on it, is rooted in sin, in evil. So the Trilateral Commission was founded by the Rockefellers. It was created to foster closer cooperation between the United States, Western Europe, and Japan regarding economic, geopolitical, and globalization challenges, right? So how they're going to use the dollar, how they're going to enslave this nation, oppress this nation, what the global reserve currency is going to be, what NATO's foreign policy is going to be, how they're going to be able to push our satanic agenda. That is the Trilateral Commission. Are we invited to the Trilateral Commission? No. Right, let me get Psalms. Let me get a precept. Let's go to Psalms chapter 2. Psalms chapter 2 and 1. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Yeah, the heathen are raging and they imagine a life without the children of Israel. That's the overall goal, to exterminate us off the earth. And when Yahushua returns, to destroy Yahushua, to consolidate all people into 15-minute cities, have surveillance on everybody 24/7, monopolize every resource and asset of man, take your children, deal with your women, traffic what they want to traffic, and control the earth according to their will. That's what they're imagining. A life when they're the Most High, a life when they are the Savior, a life when they have created man in their own image. So they're raging and imagining how to destroy the Lord. So we know it may not be in the G20 or the G7 summit. It may not even be discussed in the Trilateral Commission, but they'll be higher than they, where they actually have these councils. Right? Verse 2. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away the cords from us. So whatever you see on TV, they're not going to talk about Psalms 2 and 2. They're not. You're going to see, again, carbon footprint, global warming, digital currency, CBDC, right? But you're not going to see the conversations that are going on behind the scenes. You have a lot of people wondering what it would be like to be a fly on the wall, to hear what's going on when the cameras aren't rolling, when they're not dealing with these prostitutes and killing them and doing sacrifice and wickedness, when children don't go missing. What they're doing is they're coming together, the rulers of the darkness of this world, and they're having a think tank to come against the Most High. How can we destroy Yahushua when he returns? What weapons do we need? What's our battle formation going to be about? China, what are you going to do? America, what are you going to do? How can we fool the people to distract them with carbon footprints, global warming, carbon emissions, when our whole idea is we're plotting to destroy Yahushua? Now, how do you know? How do you know? Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. And it's such a wicked, vile, nasty counsel. How can we destroy the children of Israel and the Lord? That's what they're talking about. 2nd Ezra, let me get that. Chapter 13 and verse number, let's get straight to the point. 32, right? Let's start at 31. 2nd Ezra 13 to 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And they're behind World War III. This is talking about World War III and the different battles that are going to be taking place on the earth, right? All of the different military alliances are going to be fighting one against another when Yahushua returns. Now, let's read on and see what they're going to do. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the sign shall happen which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest, as a man ascending, because all nations are going to be doing the bidding of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, right? And all these, what they call the 13 elite families, the 1%, these wars are going to be funded and created, right, by these powers. And as they're fighting, Yahushua is going to return. You see, that's why the scriptures say, let me get this. I'm going to hold that, right? Let me get this in Job chapter 20, right? Quick precept. This is Job chapter 20 and verse number 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. So the fullness of his sufficiency represents the wealth and power of these elites. Because while the world is going through war and famine, this is primarily the West, but it's really the elites, right? While they're going through war and destruction, these devils are going to be full. They have deep underground military bases, what they call DUMBs, nuclear silos that they hide in, adequate amount of food. Some of these military bases underground, they got hotels, spas, 5-star chefs, stadiums, hospitals, food that can last 35 years. So while he's hiding in his bunkers, waiting to come out for the great reset of the new world order and to put the earth back in his place, the Most High is not only going to have the nations destroy him, but also Yahweh Shah is going to return. Right, let's read on. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So while he got all of the nations fighting out there above ground, when nuclear fallout, radiation, and death and mayhem, he's filling his belly, plotting. So he can come out of those silos and on bases to recreate the world in his image and his likeness. But while he's thinking about doing that, that's when Yahweh Shah is going to return with the chariots. Right? Let's read on. Let's read that in 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 33. It reads, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. So China's going to stop fighting England. France is going to stop fighting the Arab nations. All these nations that are going to be fighting, when Yahweh Shah returns, they're going to have a ceasefire. A ceasefire. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. So all of the nations are going to try to fight against Yahweh Shah, against the Lord. That's why they have Space Force, so-called satellites, lasers, directed energy weapons, indirected energy weapons, because they want to fight and plot against the Lord. And Psalms 2. And against his anointing. That's why they have the FEMA camp set up, legislation being put forth to stop the ministry. These are the councils that are going on the left-hand side. Let's read on to Psalms 2 and 3. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So bands and cords are binding instruments to bind and attach two things together. Right? Our bands and our cords represent the scriptures, the spirit of the Most High, the covenant. Right? That's what connects us to the Most High, to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Once you cut those bands and cords, we're no longer connected to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So their entire plot and plan is to cut us off from the Most High and Yahushua. Verse 4, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. So while they're having these forums, the World Economic Forum, G7 summits, G20 summits, meetings of the Trilateral Commission founded by Amalekites and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the DuPonts and all these families, believe it or not, the Most High is in heaven laughing, right? He's in heaven laughing, and he's going to have the final say-so. He's going to have the final say-so. Now, let me get this real quick. Another think tank and council that they have is called the Chatham House. Right? Do I have that? The Chatham House. So the Chatham House is another, let me just pull that up for brothers that never heard that before. Then I'm going to go to the rule, right? It's another think tank. It's one of the top think tanks. Chatham House, officially known as the Royal Institute of International Affairs, is a London-based independent policy institute founded in 1920 to analyze and promote understanding of major international issues. It provides research, dialogue, and expert analysis on global affairs. All right? So its whole job, it's a think tank where world leaders come together. Now, there's a particular rule about the Chatham House. And here's the rule, right? The Chatham House rule. Originated in 1927, this rule allows participants at meetings to use information from discussions, but not reveal the identity or affiliation of the speaker, encouraging openness. It's a world-leading independent think tank. And you can't reveal your identity. When they have these meetings behind the scenes, they put masks on. They're telling you. You might see stuff in the public, but that's not really what's going on. They got masks on. They got different names. You know, different identities. Hiding who they are. And the Chatham House rule is applied to many different think tanks, where some of these elites, they come together and you can't reveal who you are. Your name might be Thomas damn Jefferson, but when you come to these crafty councils and think tanks, your name is now Bill Smith. And you got a mask on that's shaped like a damn eagle. You know? Or your name might be Joe Schmo, but then you fly in your helicopter to these think tanks, and there's a spirit of being anonymous there. Why do you have to hide your identity if this is for the betterment of mankind? The Lord said, get the love of the congregation. So this shows you that their intentions are not pure. Secrecy. They have power in secrecy. They tell you in John that they love darkness because their deeds are evil. Let me get that in John 3. Anytime somebody going around having think tanks and meetings and hiding their identity, that ain't right, man. Brothers have plenty of counsels, man, in the congregation, in the camp. And not one time did we say, hey, brothers show up, hey, brothers, but don't reveal who you are. That's madness. This is John 3:19. And this is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, and men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. So all these think tanks, and as you go higher up the totem pole, you can't reveal who you are. When they passed the Federal Reserve Act, when they met in Jekyll Island, you can look that up. They went in secrecy. They couldn't reveal their identity. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I didn't plan on going into that. Island, Federal Reserve meeting, hidden identity. Let me just see if it come up. Yep, check this out. The Federal Reserve, under the cover of night, see, that's spiritual, and using only first names to keep their identity secret. Senator Nelson Aldrich led a party of financial leaders to Jekyll Island to conceptualize a federal banking system. So they love darkness, man. When they created the Federal Reserve to enslave all of the other nations, they said, I don't want to know who you are. You don't need to know who I am. As long as we're destroying the earth and destroying the children of Israel, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Right? And that's how these heathen get down. That's how they get down. Let me go back to that in John 3. John chapter 3 and verse 20. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. Right? Because if you have to reveal who you are, then you can be held accountable. I mean, that's plain. You have to be held accountable for what you say. But under the spirit of what they call secrecy, anonymity, then you could do whatever the hell you want to do. Say whatever you want to say and be a full-fledged demon. You can be a full-fledged demon. Verse 21. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God. So if there's a counsel that's pure, you're going to do it in the light. You're going to do it under the spirit of Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. So everyone can give power to the Most High. Like when Josiah, Hezekiah, King David, righteous kings had counsels to build the temple, to expand the boundaries. People gave glory to the Most High. It was done in light, because there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide. So that's the Chatham House rule, right? The Chatham House rule is to not reveal your identity. And it is a world-leading think tank often used for two-track diplomacy. What the world calls think tanks, God calls crafty counsels and secret counsels. Okay? Crafty counsels and secret counsels. And again, this was founded by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. The Royal Institute of International Affairs has received significant funding from the Rockefeller Foundation, particularly in the 1930s and beyond, supporting international studies and global recovery efforts. While both the Rockefeller and the Rothschild families represent powerful financial dynasties influencing global affairs. So all these councils are influenced by the global elites. So if you want to know, okay, why haven't we found out that we're the Israelites? How come we don't have our language? How are we cut off from a nation? Now I'm going to get it in Psalms 83. How come the families are divided? How come the fathers aren't in the houses? How come we're all disenfranchised, relegated to small projects, small communities infested with pest and crime, drugs, guns, and violence? No matter what city you go to, it's the same dynamic. Around the world, how did these things ironically just fall into place? All of the whitewashing of the images, the media, and their influence. These things are done as secret councils. Okay, and it tells you that they influence global affairs. We represent a nation like the other nations. And I've always said through the Spirit of the Most High that the number one topic of discussion at these clandestine meetings is how can we destroy the children of Israel? But you'll never see that on the internet, but you will see it in the Bible. So I'm going to read this part again. While both the Rockefeller and Rothschild families represent powerful financial dynasties influencing global affairs with historical connections to institutions like the Council on Foreign Relations, often working with or funding similar international bodies to shape policy and economic understanding. That's the Chatham House. It's funded by the Rockefellers. The Trilateral Commission was funded by David Rockefeller. All of these think tanks, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab was founded by the Rockefellers. Let's go to Psalms 83. Let's get the classic. Psalms chapter 83. It's like I put 82. Psalms chapter 83 and verse 1. right? This is a beautiful chapter, right? Brothers, we've all learned this chapter and got this when we first came into truth, right? But the people that read this, they don't understand how this plays out on a practical level, right? Lucifer's counsel. That's why we're going into this. And Lucifer, and we're going to touch on it, Lucifer is not an angel that fell from heaven that rebelled against God. They took 1/3 of the angels with them and they came down, and he used to play the organ, and he was the most beautiful angel that played music for God. And then he got jealous of God and Michael the archangel, and he fought against him, and there was a war in heaven, and he was cast down to the earth. And ever since, he's been in opposition against the Heavenly Father. That is Christianity. Folklore, fables, if you can understand. These councils that we're talking about, they're operated by Lucifer, which is an actual oligarchy, if you will, of elite Edomite men that run the world. The word Lucifer, it means light bearer. That's all it means. It means light bearer. There's nothing ominous about it. All it means is that these powers that run the earth, they put forth the light of the world, which is their medicine, their technology, their military might, their social influence, their Hollywood industry, right? Their global policies. Those things attract the other nations out of their darkness to this new age light. So all these councils are ran by Lucifer. Not the spirit, but man, and we're going to touch on that too, right? Psalms 83:1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. We have to know how to integrate biblical precepts with geopolitics. And how do they connect? Because again, the power of these devils is their secrecy. They're not going to tell you their true agenda. Psalms 2 tells you the true agenda: to cut off the Most High, to cut off Yahweh. It tells you that they hate the Lord. Verse 3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So David knew about these councils in the spirit. The World Economic Forum, the G20, G7 summits, Trilateral Commission, Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the Bilderberg Group, the Committee of 300. This is where the crafty council takes place. And they're consulting against the Israelites, how to divide the tribes up. Right? How can we bring all the other nations into their hoods to make a profit? What can we do to further sell them pork? Okay, what music platform and industry and rapper can we promote to be the hero and leader, to give them music to destroy them? Okay, we got NWA. Okay, we got drill music. What's next? They're thinking about this. And they have sub-councils. Okay, you're the council to promote music. That's why all of the music industries are owned by the Jewish man, Amalek. Okay, your team is to use sports. Or you're the drug and gun team. How can you further push drugs and guns? Any corporation is divided into subsections and businesses that work for a common goal. They're under the umbrella of a universal mission statement with core principles. So these devils are extremely organized. And every facet of our life, there's a dietitian team. Now, again, you can always ask, how do I know that? It's in the Bible. How can we further disrupt their diet? What further can we put in the food? We need top food scientists, top food engineers. How can we destroy their water? How can we work on their mind? So these are the different councils that are going on to break us down. Verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And that's their overall agenda. Don't let this global warming, the glaciers are melting, your carbon footprint, sustainable economies, don't let that beguile you. That's just a distraction. And so we got to cut them off from being a nation. As we speak, as this live is going on, like I said last week, and when I said it, they cut the whole live off, right? But as this live is going on, they're having the council. Next big false flag that they can do. Next diversion tactic that they can use. What rappers are they going to make beef with one another? What's the next big distraction? The next big bread and circus event? Who can we use on a world stage to distract the minds of the people? So these are their agendas. But they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against these. So they're all on the same page. Stop thinking that Russia is its own independent party. Well, Russia and America, they can't come together. They're about to go to war. First of all, they're ran by the same people behind the scenes. Well, Canada and America, they're ran by the same people. Both of those leaders are selected. I can't think of the leader of Canada right now. He's been talking a lot of talk. I can't remember his name, but he was selected. Trump was selected. All these leaders are selected by the people that have the same agenda. But they're making you think that they're against one another. They're with the one consent. The tabernacles of Edom, that's a so-called white man. Those are your elite bankers. And the Ishmaelites, those Arabs, they're involved. Those Arabian kings of Moab, the Chinese man. Hagarines, those are your a Hamitic tribe, offshoot of the Egyptians. Gabal, same thing, right? Like a Hamitic tribe. Ammon, your so-called Japanese. Amalek, your so-called Jew. The Philistines, those are offshoots of Mizraim. They're offshoot of the Egyptians. With the inhabitants of Tyre, those are Canaanites. Ashur, those are your Assyrians. Also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. So they helped out the Moabite man and the Ammonite man, right? So there are nations that are against us. Plain. Let's go to Psalm 64. Psalm chapter 64 and verse 1. Hear my voice, O God, and my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And we want to be hid from their counsels. See, if you're not protected by the Most High, you're going to be a victim of these counsels. Crack epidemic, drug epidemic, Reaganomics, the Biden program, all these policies and much, much more stem from counsels to destroy the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. Taking away our heritage, giving us other names, feeding us unclean food during slavery, giving us Christianity. That was part of the counsels. We want to be hid from these things. Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Their bitter words are their laws, their legislation. That they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. What does that mean? Slaka. That means they exhort one another. So you got an elite table of devils, and they're encouraging each other. Yeah, that's a good idea. You know what? I got something that can add to that. Man, you could do better than that. You just want to murder them with a gun. No, let's do better than that. Let's break them down slow. This is their counsel. Some of these devils, they get standing ovations when they have the master plan. You know, they encourage themselves. We can do this. Okay, how do we put Judah against Benjamin? Okay, how do we put light skin against dark skin? Okay, what can we put on the media? Right? And they plot. They encourage themselves, man. You know, they amp each other up. They doing cocaine, baby blood, freakism, sacrifices. These are that they exhort one another to continue in their wickedness, man. A God might not have an idea. I can't think of nothing. I don't know what I can think of. Then the next devil at the table says, man, get it together. Get your head in the game. You can do this. You've had many ideas to destroy the so-called black man. What do you mean you can't do this? Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let me think. Give me a second. Give me a second. You know what? I got something. Let's do X, Y, and Z. That's what they do. The Lord said in Sirach 21, I believe 15 or down, that a wise man will hear a word and will add unto it. But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, he casteth it behind his back. So these are wise men on the left-hand side. They hear wicked devices and they add unto it. And they talk about traps. And they say nobody's going to see us. That's why we went into the this links up with the chat house. What do I call that? Where is that? The Chatham House rule. When you have to be in the spirit of secrecy. And these top think tanks, they all apply the Chatham House rule. You cannot tell who you are. That's why they say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. That's why you have deep think tanks. And they're searching out sins. They got Bibles. They got people that interpret the Bible. Wicked priests. Show me the laws of God right now. They got wicked devils. Here. If we do this, we can get them to sin. Okay, if we do this, then they could fall by this way. Okay, and they're searching out iniquities. So they have to use the scriptures to see where the sins are. And they accomplish a diligent search. And they know all of the laws, all of the commandments. And I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about the powers above him and the wicked priest on the left-hand side. They search out the sins. Okay, in the book of Exodus, right? Chapter 23, it says that you can't do this. Okay, well, what policy can we put into play so they can break this commandment right here? How can we get them to break this law right here? Anybody got any ideas? Nobody? Right? And they start encouraging each other. Okay, I'm in the book of Exodus. Okay, the 33rd chapter, and I'm reading and I'm seeing that, okay, the Israelites, they fell like this. Okay, well, so they study these things. That's what it means. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Right? Now, I'm going to play this clip right here. This is a clip of David Rockefeller admitting he recruited Henry Kissinger and Klaus Schwab. Now, these are top elite devils. FBI directors, top Edomite men, and Klaus Schwab is the former face of the World Economic Forum. So hopefully I can play this and brothers can see this. Right? So let me play that clip. I got a few clips I want to play through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Right? Let me play this. Because again, all these top so-called councils, all these so-called top think tanks, they're headed by men that were selected by the global elites. So let me see if I can play this. Most High willing through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So check this out. This is all fair use. Fair use.
Was noticed by the Rockefeller family after he wrote a very erudite work on nuclear.
Hold on. Hear what he said. They said Klaus Schwab was noticed by the Rockefeller family. See, Yahushua chose his disciples. He chose the men that would follow him. These elites, they choose their disciples. They select and they call them and they make them fishers of men to bring men to Satan. That guy right there, we see his spirit. We discern where his mind is at. He's good for us. Right? And they have disciples too, man. Satan has disciples.
And you mentioned, David, Henry Kissinger, and I think he first was noticed by the Rockefeller family after he wrote a very erudite work on nuclear weapons and nuclear war back in the late 1950s.
So this man wrote a book about nuclear weapons and nuclear war, about destroying mankind. The Rockefeller said, we can use that guy right there. Right? He writes about war and destruction and nuclear bombs and nuclear warfare. That's the guy right there.
It was in foreign policy.
Right.
Yes.
It was then published. And from that time on, he became pretty close to the Rockefeller family.
Well, he did. Actually, I guess I was the first one who got to know him because he was a member of an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations in New York.
So that's the David Rockefeller. He's saying that he hired Kissinger because Kissinger was part of the Council of the Foreign Relations. So he was already one of those top wise men on the left-hand side. He's admitting it. This guy was on the Council of Foreign Relations, which was actually started by David Rockefeller. So he was already a top disciple on the left-hand side, one of the apostles, wicked apostles. You got the righteous apostles, you got wicked apostles that are sent out to do miracles and bring people to their God. There's always a just balance. The Most High says, so look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. So let me rewind this a little bit.
I was the first one who got to know him because he was a member of an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations in New York, and there was a study group at that time that he, as then a young instructor at Harvard, presided at. I was so impressed by him that I introduced him to my brother Nelson, who was then governor in New York and was then considering seeking the presidency of the United States. They became great friends, and actually Henry became Nelson's foreign policy advisor as long as he was in public life, and I think is one of the remarkable international statesmen in the world today. Even 30 years after he was Secretary of State, he is still asked by heads of state when he travels the world for his advice.
Let me go back to the time you said when you came here, it transformed your life. Was there a course, a professor?
Now, this is Schwab. Schwab is the former leader and face of the World Economic Forum. So check this out. Now, that's what just been going on. Davos 2026, Trump, all world leaders were at this in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum. Right? Everybody was there. Top everybody. It was freakism, sacrifices, prostitutes, cocaine, drugs, madness. And this guy started it. But this guy was also a disciple selected. And let's play this.
Who really made that difference for you?
Yes, there was one course, one seminar of Henry Kissinger. which really opened my eyes. I wasn't accepted to the seminar, but I sat in. I think he let me in because I was German. And it was relatively shortly after the war. There were not too many Germans here. And this created a friendship which has endured until today. And, Henry has been several times in Davos. And I think it was mainly participating in his seminars that I developed my interest for geopolitics.
See that? So he was linked up with Henry Kissinger, who was selected by the Rockefellers. So they have their hand in these secret councils, man. Right? David Rockefeller admitted that he brought these two devils in to push his global elitist agendas. So all these things are ran by the same puppet masters, right? They're ran by the same puppet masters. Now, there's another clip I want to play through the spirit, right? So we're diving deep, right? We're doing a deep dive into Lucifer's councils, right? Lucifer, again, is not just one Edomite man. Yeah, it's Esau, but it's really an oligarchy of elite, or an aristocracy, if you will, of elite families that govern the world. And a lot of brothers, we know this, but we're just diving deep into it. All right, now this is David Rockefeller's grandfather. Now, Rockefeller, he started all these different commissions, right? He started all these different commissions, all these different think tanks. Now, hold on. This him right there. He looked like a demon. Look at him. Right? Now, that's, I believe, the grandfather of David Rockefeller. Right? If I'm not mistaken. Now, one of his nicknames, like I quoted earlier, is Devil Bill. Devil Bill. I didn't give him that name. Other Edomites gave him that name. He is the grandfather or father, right? He's one of them. Grandfather or father of David Rockefeller. David Rockefeller, again, created the Trilateral Commission, World Economic Forum, all these think tanks to oppress and destroy the children of Israel. He's one of the top elite families. And he comes from a man called the devil. Right? Now, let me get one quick precept. Right? There's a precept I want to get in Sirach 11, because you could say, well, that's not, that doesn't matter because there are two different people. That doesn't mean that David Rockefeller's the devil only simply because his grandfather was called the devil. Well, here's what the Lord said. Ecclesiasticus chapter 11 and 28. Judge none blessed before his death, for a man shall be known in his children. So your children are a reflection of your character. They're a reflection of your morals. They're a reflection of your discipline, your ethics, right? They are you on the earth. Now, when you go into this guy, Devil Bill Rockefeller, they go deep into how this guy and what made him the devil, how this guy was the devil and what made him the devil. Again, I didn't call him the devil. I mean, he is, but fuck your other Edomites called him the devil, right? Other Edomites called him the devil. So I'm going to play this. Let's see if I can play this. I'm going to play a little of this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but we're just going to go into how and why he was called the devil. And this is a documentary that they made, a small little clip. Now, when you watch this, think about, it should stir your mind up for a lot of different precepts. When I first saw this, I was thinking of the sons of Cain, how Cain taught his sons how to be wicked, and the father, it tells you that, Salakia, that this man, Tubal Cain, was the father of weapons, etc. Tells you that this guy, Jeroboam, and he was the father of tents, and all these fathers that came out of Cain were fathers of modern day technology, medicine, social living, etc. So that kind of reminded me of this when I watched it, but you can watch it on your own. So let's play this. Let me make sure this is playing. Right, let me go back, Salaki. I want to make sure this is playing the right way, right through the spirit. So there should be a few precepts that come to mind, right, when you watch this. And this is fair use.
Oil. From farm to pharmaceutical, diesel truck to dinner plate, pipeline to plastic product, it is impossible to think of an area of our modern-day lives that is not affected by the petrochemical industry. The story of oil is the story of the modern world. Parts of that story are well known. Rockefeller and Standard Oil, the internal combustion engine and the transformation of global transport, the House of Saud and the oil wars in the Middle East. Other parts are more obscure. The quest for oil in the outbreak of World War I, the petrochemical
It's about to jump a little bit, Salaki.
pollution.
Let me jump
But
up
that
a little
story,
bit.
properly told, begins somewhere unexpected. Not in Pennsylvania with the first commercial drilling operation and the first oil boom, but in the rural backwoods of early 19th century New York State. And it doesn't start with crude oil or its derivatives, but a different product altogether. Snake oil. Dr. Bill Livingston, celebrated cancer specialist, was the very image of the traveling snake oil.
Snake oil. Right, that's how he started. That's the serpent. The serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. So he started, you can say, well, that's just a coincidence. That he began his business as what they call a snake oil salesman. That's what they call it, right?
Bill Livingston, celebrated cancer specialist, was the very image of the traveling snake oil salesman. He was neither a doctor nor a cancer specialist. His real name was not even Livingston.
So Devil Bill Rockefeller hid his identity as well. You heard what he said. He had an alias and concealed his identity. Let me go back.
Specialist, oil. Dr. Bill Livingston, celebrated.
He went by Dr. Bill Livingston. These devils always hiding their identity, man. That's what the scriptures call him, a thief, a murderer. And Job 24 said he disguised his face. That's why he's called Devil Bill, because you never know who he is. One minute he's the white man, next minute he's the French man, he's a Caucasian, he's a Neanderthal, he's a Homo sapien, he's a human, right? He's always somebody new, man. And that's their spirit. Last time I read, King David was always King David, man. David didn't have to hide his identity. Jacob was always Jacob. Where's the account of Noah hiding that he was Noah? Don't call me Noah, call me Gabar. That's off. But these devils always hide who they are, man. That's that Chatham House rule. It's part of them.
Snake oil. Dr. Bill Livingston, celebrated cancer specialist, was the very image of the traveling snake oil salesman. He was neither a doctor nor a cancer specialist. His real name was not even Livingston. More to the point, the rock oil tonic he pawned was a useless mixture of laxative and petroleum and had no effect whatsoever on the cancer of the poor townsfolk he conned into buying it.
He was conning people to buy a snake oil and a cure for cancer. But it was nothing but just oil. And he was conning hundreds of people, finessing them out their money. He's the grandfather or the father of David Rockefeller.
The life of a vagabond, always on the run.
It's like, I know I'm pausing a lot, but you got hear what he said. Listen to this word he called him. He called him a vagabond. Now, you brothers that are sharp, you sisters that are sharp, you should think of a precept. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. They called him a vagabond.
Folk he conned into buying it. He lived the life of a vagabond, always on the run from the last group of people he had fooled.
He lived the life as a vagabond, always running. You can't tell me this ain't Cain back on the earth. Always running from the last people he stole from. Always running away from justice. Running away from order. Running away from law. Killing and robbing and stealing, and a vagabond. He might be Cain back on the earth.
Had no effect whatsoever on the cancer of the poor townsfolk he conned into buying it. He lived the life of a vagabond, always on the run from the last group of people he had fooled, engaged in ever more outrageous deceptions to make sure that the past wouldn't catch up with him.
He engaged, I mean, you can't make this up, man. He engaged in outrageous deception so his past didn't catch up with him. So you wouldn't figure out who he was. He was always deceiving them, the people. And he's his own people. So they can never figure out his true identity. I'm persuaded that he's definitely Cain or one of the sons of Cain on the earth. Now, I could be wrong, right? But he's a vagabond. He's hiding his identity, running away from justice, a murderer. He's called the devil.
He lived the life of a vagabond, always on the run from the last group of people he had fooled, engaged in ever more outrageous deceptions to make sure that the past wouldn't catch up with him. He abandoned his first wife and their 6 children to start a bigamous marriage in Canada at the same time as he fathered 2 more children by a 3rd woman. He adopted the name Livingston after he was indicted for raping a girl in Cayuga in 1849.
Hold on, you heard this devil, right? He changed his name after he got caught raping somebody, a little girl. Then he changed his name so you couldn't find out who it was. Listen to this devil. That's why he's called Devil Bill Rockefeller.
Canada at the same time as he fathered 2 more children by a 3rd woman.
He a demon.
He adopted the name Livingston after he was indicted for raping a girl in Cayuga in 1849. When he wasn't running away from them or disappearing for years at a time, he would teach his children the tricks of his treacherous trade. He once bragged of his parenting technique. I cheat my boys every chance I get. I want to make them sharp.
See that? I cheat my boys. I have to teach them how to be a demon. Why do you think the Rockefellers are doing what they're doing? Linking up with the Rothschilds. You think it's a coincidence? What the scriptures say? Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth. That's John 8:44. Cheating his own sons, lying to his sons. Oh, I got to make him sharp. He a demon. Committing adultery, raping women, then changing his name so it don't catch up with him, selling snake oil. And this guy's a full-fledged demon.
A towering man of over 6 feet and with natural good looks that he used to his advantage, he went by Big Bill. Others, less generously, called him Devil Bill.
See that? Others, less generously, called him Devil Bill.
He went by Big Bill. Others, less generously, called him Devil Bill. But his real name was William Avery Rockefeller, and it was his son, John D. Rockefeller, who would go on to found the Standard Oil monopoly and become the world's first billionaire. The world we live in today is the world created in Devil Bill's image. It's a world...
See that? He said the world we live in today is created in Devil Bill's image. Because his sons run the world. All of his sons run the world. So everything's in their image and their likeness.
The world we live in today is the world created in Devil Bill's image. It's a world founded on treachery, deceit, and the naivety of a public that has never wised up to the parlor tricks that the Rockefellers and their ilk have been using to shape the world for the past century and a half. This is the story of the oligarchy.
Right, but you can watch the rest on your own. But you saw they called him a vagabond. He was a rapist, an adulterer, an extortioner, a homosexual, and his name is Devil Bill. Devil Bill. Let me go to let me get a quick precept. Right, let's go to Ecclesiasticus, right, chapter 30. Right, let's get one quick precept. Then there's some more we want to get into, man. And he's the grandfather of all of the world councils that are going on. He's the grandfather of the man that started all these world councils and Luciferian think tanks. You could say that's irony, but you'll be a fool, man. Right? This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 and verse number 3. He that teacheth the son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he hath left one behind that is like himself. So it started with the Devil Bill Rockefeller. Then it got passed down to his son, J.D. Rockefeller. Then it got passed down to David Rockefeller. David Rockefeller works with the Rothschilds, the DuPonts, these other elite families to create the crafty councils that you see going on now, the G20, G7, Trilateral Commission. What's another one we went into? The Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the World Economic Forum, Davos 2026. It all comes from the devil. And all these devils, they teach their sons how to be the devil. He said, I teach my sons how to cheat, and I cheat them every time I can. I want them to be sharp, to learn how to be Satan. That's what he said. That's in the Bible. He said, I want my sons to learn how to be the devil. Though his father died, yet he as though he were not dead. For he hath left one behind him that is like himself. So you can't get around that, man. You can't get around what's going on in the world and who's running the show. Let's get another quick precept before I go to the next clip. Let's go to the Isaiah, right? Chapter 14. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? So Lucifer is not a spirit. Part of the title of this lesson is Lucifer's councils, right? Lucifer is really a man, but it's really an oligarchy, which is an aristocracy, right? You're liable. You can use either one. An aristocracy is a rich. Let's pull up those definitions, right? Just for edification statements. Okay. Aristocracy, the highest class in certain societies, especially those holding hereditary titles or offices, right? So those are your ruling class, right? That's Devil Bill Rockefeller, J.D. Rockefeller, David Rockefeller. You got the Rothschild, what's his name? Amir Rothschild, paraphrasing, his sons, his five sons, and all of the Rothschilds and all these other families. That's an aristocracy. Meyer, Amschel, Rothschild, his sons, it's an aristocracy, right? Or you have an oligarchy, right? An oligarchy, a small group of people having control of a country, organization, or institution. So they're interchangeable. So when you read Isaiah the 14th chapter, Lucifer is really an aristocracy or an oligarchy. It's really an elite group of men whose job is to weaken the nations through foreign policy, witchcraft, sorcery, and deception. Their main target nation to weak are the children of Israel. Now, this is talking about an actual men, a group of men. How do you know that? Let's go to Isaiah 14 and 3. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse number 3. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. Right. Once we put these other nations in captivity, we're going to have rest. Right. Verse 14. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. So the king of Babylon is the name given in Isaiah 14 and 4. When you read Isaiah 14 and 12, his name is now called Lucifer. These are two titles for the aristocracy and or the oligarchy that governs the modern day world, because there's no actual king. Kings operate in a feudal system and or a monarchy. That's the type of governments that kings operate primarily in. Monarchies and feudal systems. They can say, well, America's a monarchy, feudal system. Not really, right? Not necessarily. So the king of Babylon, again, represents these powers that run his kingdom. And the Rockefellers are just part of it. But why in Isaiah 14 are they called Lucifer, and why are they falling from heaven? Because falling from heaven meaning you fell from a higher state. All of the power that they have, it's not going to last forever. All of the influence that they have, all these councils, it's not going to last forever. The Most High is going to bring them down, bring their power down, bring their economy down, bring their military might down, and they're going to fall from a higher state to a lower state. That's what it means to fall from heaven. Let's get a precept. Let's go to Matthew 11, right, to get some clarity on that. This is Matthew chapter 11 and verse number 23. This is Yahushua speaking. And thou, Capernaum, which art exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee have been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. Now, Capernaum was an affluent city. A lot of these people that lived in Capernaum, when you do the history, they were well off. So much so that they're compared to being in a higher state, exalted unto heaven. Yahushua said you're going to be brought down to hell, right? You're going to be brought down to nothing. So from heaven to hell means from a higher state to a lower state, because Capernaum was not literally in heaven, right? I mean, this is not literal. Okay, this is not literal. It's like an idiom. It's a figure of speech. Okay, let's get another precept, because there's no city up in heaven that's coming down to an actual place called hell. Lamentations chapter 2 and verse number 1. It reads, how hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. So the Lord covered us with a cloud, right? Which means all of our light is now being concealed. So that's why we don't know the law. We don't know the commandments. We don't know the heritage, because clouds cover the light. You understand? Whether it's from the sun or the moon or the stars. So all of our wisdom and discretion and understanding is being concealed by the Spirit of the Most High. And the Lord uses these nations to do so. And he even likens us to being cast down from heaven. So if you're going to have the understanding to think that Lucifer is a spirit that fell from heaven, that means you have to say that we're a people that fell actually from heaven. But we know it's not literal. We were brought from a higher state to the lowest state. Let's get one more precept on that. Let's go to Isaiah 26. This Isaiah chapter 26 and verse number 5. It reads, for he bringeth down them that dwell on high. The lofty city, he layeth it low, even to the ground, he bringeth it even to the dust. And the lofty city is Babylon the Great, right? That chief city. that reigns over the kings of the earth. And the Most High is going to bring them down from being high unto the dust. So Isaiah 14 is not speaking about falling out of grace with the Heavenly Father, but rather speaking about the so-called white man's aristocracy, his rich elite bankers being taken from a higher state to a lower state. So they're called Lucifer. That means light bearer. Right, let's go into that. Son of the morning, that morning star, which is the first light that you see out of darkness. Okay, the first light that you see out of darkness. It says light bearer, shining one, morning star, Lucifer, of the king of Babylon and Satan, figuratively, right, in the sense of brightness. So he's the light bearer. That's his economy. That's his financial institution, his IMF, World Bank. What is that? The International Bank of Settlements. You know, that's his Hollywood, his industry, his sports, his media, his universities. All of that is the light that brings the other nations into subjection and obedience unto the so-called white man. So much so where it tells you in Revelation that these other nations refuse to buck up against Lucifer. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse number 4. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him. So they say nobody's like the so-called white man. He has nuclear weapons, bombs, high and strong GDP. You know, he has all nations in his subjection. And one of the main reasons why the other nations fear the so-called white man is because it's not the missiles, it's not their tanks. It's because they have us in subjection. So they're looking at them like, okay, you have the children of God in subjection. That means you can put any of us in subjection. So a lot of people think that they fear America just because of a nuclear weapon or their ability to have directed energy weapons. No, they fear America because they have done, in their mind, what they think, what no other nation has been capable of doing, and that's subduing the children of God. And they say, how were they able to do that? Who's likened to the beast? Who can make war with him? Because he made war against God, and this was what they're thinking. He made war against God, he defeated God, and he captured God's people. Let me fall in line. Let me fall in line. That's the mind of the other nations, right? That's the mind of the other nations. So they represent Lucifer and the light bearer, who governs and brings all nations to Babylon the Great. And they're going to be cut down to the ground, right? They're going to be cut down to the ground. Now, let me play this. See how much. I still got a lot we got to get into. I'm going to play this other quick clip of 13 families that rule the world, right? Let's play this real quick. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shah. So Lucifer is, yes, he's running the world, right? Yes, he's running the world. Okay, let's see if I can get this. Is this it? Bear with me. Let me get these particular families that run. Here it is. Okay, now this is also fair use, right? This is also fair use. Now this says 13 families who secretly run the world, the elite bloodline theory, right? So
have you ever wondered if
now they're going to mention the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and other families, right? They're going to mention them. Now, could there be more? Are these their exact names?
Have you ever wondered if the world...
Are these their exact names? Or could there be more families? Could there be less? I mean, only the Most High know. But this is just a general understanding to let you know about the king of Babylon and the aristocracy that runs the world. Okay, men from Devil Bill and his people to the top Rothschilds to all of them, right? So I'm gonna play this, and most I willing we can play it straight through. I know I like to pause it, but I'm gonna try to let it go straight through for sake of time.
The world is really run by the people you see on the news, or if there's someone else lurking in the shadows, quietly pulling the strings. Today I'm diving into the elite bloodline theory, societies, legendary families, and whispers of control that stretch across centuries.
And there are secret societies, there are legendary families, right? These things are true.
Here's the core idea. What if a handful of interconnected families, the so-called 13 Illuminati bloodlines, aren't just rich and influential, but actually shape the fate of nations from behind closed doors?
Yeah, the Illuminati just means the enlightened ones, right? And that goes back to it goes way back when, but officially 1776, right? But it goes way back before that.
Think about it. If you inherit wealth, you inherit influence, and if you inherit both, you inherit power. Supporters say these families fund political campaigns, own media outlets, and shape what we learn in school, all while staying hidden in plain sight. Let's name some names. The Rothschilds.
Yeah, the Rothschilds. Meyer Amschel Rothschild said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws." So we know they in this thing. He said, "If I could control your money, I don't care who make the laws." So these are different members of the king of Babylon. These are different members of Lucifer. Arm, leg, head, shoulder, right? These are different members of the body, right? An aristocracy, the oligarchy that create the councils that we read about in Psalms 2, Psalm 64, Psalms 83, etc.
European bankers so powerful their name is basically a meme. The Rockefellers, oil.
Talk about the Rockefellers. David Bill Rockefeller, J.D. Rockefeller, David Rockefeller. So the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. It's like the head and the arms and chest,
Industry and American foreign policy. Even the Kennedys, each one holding a piece of the puzzle. Strategic marriages tie these families together, creating a web of legacy that supposedly spans continents and generations. The list often cited includes names like Rothschild, Rockefeller, Astor, DuPont, Kennedy, Rothschild, Rockefeller, Astor, DuPont, Kennedy, Onassis, Bundy, Collins, Freeman, Lee, Reynolds, Russell, Van Dyne. These families are said to maintain dominance through business empires, political appointments, and media ownership, subtly steering public perception and policy. Now here's where things get wild. The theory claims these families don't just rule openly, they operate in secret. Ever heard of Skull and Bones, the Freemasons, or the...
Right, the Skull and Bones is an actual secret society in Yale. Right? I mean, it's an actual secret society. And top presidents, I believe George Bush was part of the Skull and Bones. George, what was his name? H.W. Bush. They call it Daddy Bush. He was part of the Skull and Bones. Right? A lot of these elites, they're selected. Right? I believe the other Bush came out of the Skull and Bones. And they do a lot of freaked out stuff. I was going to go into it, but, you could go into it on your own. You can look further into it. I may not have time because there's still a lot more I have to go into, but, right, a lot of these elite families, they're hand selected. And they go through satanic rituals. They lay in coffins. They utter their lewd things they've done, and they freak off and, pop one another. And I'm just saying what it is, man. Right? I have to keep it transparent.
Bilderberg Group.
We're not going to sugarcoat nothing. And the Bilderberg Group, that's another think tank. Now, I got a quote I just remembered I have a quote that David Rockefeller said about the Bilderberg Group. And I'm going to get that quote, most I will.
According to the theory, these aren't just old clubs, they're exclusive back channels for elite decision-making. Some believers even take it further, linking these bloodlines to ancient myths, saying they descend from giants or
Well, they going off right there. But they went into the families and they kind of told you these particular families run the world in a clandestine fashion. And they are right, right? They're absolutely right that those families do run the world in a secretive fashion, right? They run the world in secret. Now, I want to get this quote that David Rockefeller said. Rockefeller, Bilderberg quote, right? I believe he said that. Let me get this quote. Okay, now check this out. All right, let me get this. And all these counsels they do, man, they counsel, they have false counsels against our Lord Yahweh Shai. They always counseled against Yahweh Shai. So all this stuff they doing, we're not surprised that they're counseling against us. Now, this is David Rockefeller. I just typed in Bilderberg quote. Now check out what he said. Look at this devil, man. If the Council on Foreign Relations raises the hackles of the conspiracy theorists, the Bilderberg Group meetings must induce apocalyptic visions of omnipotent international bankers plotting with unscrupulous government officials to impose cunning schemes on an ignorant and unsuspecting world. So he's telling you what it is, but he's saying it like it's sarcasm. Because people know that the Council of Foreign Relations is a secret society to push a global agenda. And he's downplaying it by being sarcastic. He's telling you that there are omnipotent international bankers plotting with government officials to impose cunning schemes on an ignorant and unsuspecting world. He said that. We didn't make him say that, man. He's telling you what it is. And he's saying that so people can say, you're silly, man. Right? That's funny. And they can move on to the next topic. But we know that that's truth. And like I said, they had counsels and plots against our Lord, man. And we're the body of the Lord. Let me get this in Mark, the 3rd chapter. Right? This is Mark chapter 3 and verse number 5. Mark chapter 3 and 5. And when he had looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. So Yahweh Shai healed this man on the Sabbath in front of everybody. Now, we are doing this as well, but not more so with spiritual power, but more so through the word of the Most High. We're healing the hands, we're strengthening the hands of our people, right? By giving them the word of the Most High, by teaching them to repent, by showing them the name of Yahweh, his son Yahweh Shai. We are stretching out and healing the hands of our people that they can do the work of the Most High. Your hand represents your strength. Yes, this literally happened, but we're doing this on a spiritual level. Right? Verse 6. And they're watching us. Like they watched Yahweh Shai do this. They're watching us do this as the Israelites continually wake up and repent. Verse 6. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. So they had counsels against Yahweh Shai. Right? How can we stop Yahweh Shai from healing the people? And they're saying that with the Israelites. How can we stop the Israelites from getting the people off of drugs, adultery? You know, again, all of the traps and snares that we laid, you brothers are freeing brothers from that. And they're going to take counsel to destroy you. This is John 11 and verse number 53. This is after Yahweh Shai raised Lazarus from the dead. John 11 and 53. Then from that day forth, they took counsel together for to put him to death. So they wanted to put Lazarus to death, and they really wanted to put Yahushua to death because he was raised in the dead. And spiritually speaking, our souls are being raised from the dead. That's the resurrection. You know, we believe in Yahushua. Our old man is dead. The new man comes to the knowledge of the Most High, liberated from sin, liberated from wickedness, repenting, keeping the commandments. And they're going to take counsel against us like they did our Lord Yahushua to put us to death unjustly, right? We are the body of the Lord. Let's get Matthew 10 real quick, right? This is St. Matthew chapter 10 and verse number 24. It reads, "The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple to be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household?" So when you come into this truth, you're both expected and required to suffer the same way that our Lord Yahushua suffered. And that's enough for you to be as your master. If they called Yahushua, they say Yahushua is a devil. You know, they say you're a Samaritan and you have a devil on you. They charge Yahushua with sedition, treason, trying to overthrow the Roman Empire, causing an insurrection. We're going to be charged with those same things. Insurrection, treason, domestic terrorists. You know, all of the charges they're going to heap up against us. If they did that to our Lord, then they're going to do that unto us. So all of the counsels, they saw counsel to put him to death. They saw counsel to destroy him. You have to understand that if you're walking in this knowledge, then you are now the topic of conversation by these different groups that we went into. And your name might come up, your actual name, your camp, your congregation, who you are, how long you've been in this truth. That's what they're working on. So if they called Yahushua false titles and gave him false charges, they're going to do that to us. It's expected. It's a given. You know, it's a given. Now, kind of going back into these things in these councils, what they want to do, this is just some things I want to touch on. One of the topics in the World Economic Forum was they want to turn Gaza, and this is some sick stuff. They got this thing called, what's this, Gaza? Check this out, New Gaza. Look at these devils. Now, I believe that was at October 7th, November 7th, allegedly the day that the Palestinians murdered those so-called Jews on the Sabbath, which was the reason, this is what they said, the reason why they went into Palestine in the first place. First of all, they set that whole thing up to destroy all the Palestinians and murder them and kill them so they can set up New Gaza for tourism. So they're bombing all of those heathen, murdering all of those children, raping all of the women, killing up all of the men, and they want to build New Gaza. These devils got to go, man. They did a whole false flag to create their own little version of the kingdom. Now, when you go back, and that was at the World Economic Forum, they say to make a fortune off the graves of hundreds of thousands of dead Palestinians and hallowed ground like Gaza is next level evil. So this guy, Jared Kushner, you can watch his speech. He's the son-in-law of Trump. He said Gaza's waterfront property could be very valuable. So these guys are the devil, man. And they've always done this. They did this to us. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosedale. How many prominent so-called black communities were destroyed so the so-called white man could come in there and build his own little kingdom in there and kick you out? This is his MO. For you Negroes that don't believe that this was planned to do, then you don't understand your own history in the United States. You know? You don't know what's going on because they've always destroyed cities and they built dams. In Baltimore, they did that a lot. They built dams, not dams, man-made lakes over destroyed so-called black, prominent, wealthy communities and neighborhoods. They've always done that. It's all over Baltimore itself. It's over other cities too. New York, they had what's that? Central Park. They done destroyed the Central Park where Jake was at. So these devils, the Lord said, they speak wickedly concerning oppression. Let me get that in Psalms real quick. They done did a false flag to go in there and rape, rob, and murder so they can build a resort out there in Gaza. This Psalms chapter 73 and verse number 8. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. So that's a proud statement. And we know the atrocities that are going on out there, man. Even though they're not Israelites, I mean, we could give a damn, but we're landing the charges on Amalek to destroy millions of people and turn it to a resort is madness. Nicanor said that he would take Jerusalem and turn it to a common burying ground. So these devils speak wickedly concerning oppression. Psalm 73 and 9. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. So they blaspheme the Most High, and they say whatever they want to say on the earth with no repercussions. Now, another thing that happened at the World Economic Forum is the Board of Peace, right? The Board of Peace. It is one nation. Hold on. So Trump, let's see if I can get this. Trump just signed. See if I can get this. The Board of Peace. Let me get this. Trump. Now, there should be a precept that come to mind when you hear Board of Peace. Right? There should be one major precept that comes to mind. The Board of Peace, which is really a pseudo League of Nations or United Nations. This is the Board of Peace. The Lord, I'm going to get it in 1 Thessalonians, right? This is the Board of Peace. Now, I believe there was a little over 25 countries at the World Economic Forum, and at that time, who wanted to be part of the Board of Peace. And this shows the weakness of America. There's hundreds of countries in the world, and only about 25 of them wanted to link up with America. So they're finished. America's finished. Even England, I believe Spain, France, Norway, Germany, they said, we don't want to be part of the Board of Peace. So you got all these low-life nations in here. These are low-life nations that are part of the Board of Peace. And their chief member, their senior member is Netanyahu. The Board of Peace. Let me get up 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. America's looking very bad right now, man. They used to have all nations under their hand. Now they only got like 25 nations that said we want to link up with you. And even their own allies of Western Europe said, we don't want to deal with you. They got third world countries that joined. This 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So they're making global peace treaties. The Most High said that is a sign of pending doom. Pending doom. Watch out for those peace treaties, those global peace pacts, because that's when the Most High going to lay the hammer down. Verse 4, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 4. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day shall overtake you as a thief. Why? Because we're watching. We're cognizant of what the Most High is doing on the earth. We're looking at the geopolitics. We're linking it up with the prophecies, right? We're diving into the spirit of prophecy. So we're not going to be taken aback when it happens. We're going to know because we see it playing out in front of us. Ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. And that goes back to Genesis. That goes back to the creation. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. That was literally in the creation time. But that same spirit is on the earth now. There's darkness upon the face of the deep. The deep are the waters. And on a spiritual level, the waters represent the other nations. They're likened unto waters, pursuant to Revelation 17 to 15, Psalms 144 and 6 on down. Isaiah 17, 13 on down, Isaiah 59, 19 on down. They're likened unto waters. And darkness is upon the face of the deep. And the Most High said, let there be light. Right? And the Lord did say, let there be light. And on a spiritual level, that's that truth being made manifest. The virgins trimming their lamps. So we're not of the night, nor of darkness. We're of the light. We are children of the day. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So either you're the children of the day, or you're the children of the night. Either you're watching, or you're not watching. Right? Either you're watching, or you're not watching. So you got the Board of Peace. I want to touch on a few more things that's going on through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Awashai. Right? A few more things that's going on. You have here it is. The United Kingdom, Germany, the Netherlands, and Sweden plan to follow France in rejecting the invitation to join the Peace Council. So if you don't know by now, NATO's done. Yes, it's still on paper, it's still a standing military alliance between Western European countries, America, and Canada. But it's not looking so good. It's not looking good for NATO. Their own partners, they don't want to join the Peace Council. If you don't want peace, you damn near want war. So they had enough. America is looking very weak. You have to really put this into perspective. One, they only had like 20 countries that joined the Board of Peace. And then their own people said, we don't want to deal with you. These they top men. The UK, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, these are top NATO European countries. And France, they said, we don't want to deal with you, America. We done. So America's done. Any of you people watching that still trust in America, that still are banking on them to do this great turnaround, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Every week we've been going into the precepts about NATO being divided, the EU being divided, the 10 toes, right? So you got that going on. Let me see. You have this demon, the Pope. He was invited to the Board of Peace, right? The Pope, The ultimate, look at him, the ultimate demon. I don't want to be invited to the board of peace, man. Because these devils are never about peace any damn way. But you got the Pope in there. The ultimate child molester. The ultimate freak. Creep. Baby bandit. You know? The fondler. Father Hands. The top toucher. He got invited to the Board of Peace. So that says a lot about those members, man. That says a lot about those members. Now, is he going to join? I don't know. But he invited the Pope. So this place is finished, man. Let me see a list of countries on Board of Peace. Look at this madness. Right? Let me pull this up. All right. Look at all these small countries that joined the Board of Peace. They say 35 countries. They say 50 got invited, but only 35 responded. Let me go back. I'm trying to scroll down and get straight to the. Look at this. Yeah. These are nobodies. These are nobodies. Ain't nobody worried about Albania in World War III. Most people don't know where Albania is. Armenia, Azerbaijan. You think somebody's worried about Azerbaijan? Azerbaijan? No. Bahrain, Belarus, Bulgaria, Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan. I mean, look at these countries, man. Look, France said we decline. No, thank you. Norway said la ah. But look at these low-level desert camel back countries. That's all America got left. Right? That's all America has left, man. This is a sign that they're done. They're done. These are their only allies. Nobodies. And even Turkey's going to turn against them. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan just formed a Middle Eastern alliance. Right? So look at this. They're finished. Now, here's a good map right here. Look at the countries in red that declined to join the Board of Peace. France, Spain, England, Norway, Sweden. Who's this down here? Right? I got France down there going off. Then Canada, they said you can't come. They withdrawn the invite. Look at all these countries that said we're not going to commit. China, Russia, all the BRICS nations. And look at them countries that accepted. Nobodies in the blue. Bunch of nobodies. A bunch of lowlifes. Right? A bunch of lowlifes. They have no more influence in the world. America's influence is at an all-time low. Let's go to Habakkuk real quick. So America's done, man. Right? They're finished. They're finished. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse number, let's start at 8. Because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for violence of the land of the city, Slakia, and all that dwell therein. So America, you done beat down every nation. Now after you done raped, robbed, and murdered, you want to do a board of peace. As if everybody is going to forget about all your imperialism and rape, rob, and murder. So you done robbed and destroyed many nations. Now they hate you. Now they're going to rise up against you. You know? And destroy the brightness of thy face. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51. Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse number, let's start at this whole thing is good. Let's start at, man, this is a beautiful chapter. You know what? Let's start at 1. Jeremiah 51 and 1. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. That's that nuclear destruction. And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So the fanners are those that's going to exasperate that fire and that flame. So as China, Russia, Iran shoots those missiles, other nations are going to join within the destruction of America, right? Those are the fanners. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. And against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. So everybody's going to be against him. All nations are going to rise up against Babylon the Great, and rightfully so. Right? This is Jeremiah 51 and 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, said the Lord, which destroyest all the earth. And I will stretch out mine hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks and will make thee a burnt mountain. So the Lord said they destroyed all the earth. You can't, again, they call that, I think they call that love bombing. That's the thing now, love bombing. You done beat, rape, rob, and murder, then you want to make peace. America's love bombing the nations, man. So let me get the rest of this through the spirit. Bear with me. Another sign of America's destruction is their economy. This economy is about to go down. You brothers that are looking at the gold, looking at the silver spike up, think gold is like 4,000. If it's not 4,000, it's extremely high per ounce. The dollar is plummeting. And believe it or not, other nations are telling America, we need our gold reserves. We don't trust the economy anymore. Germany, it's not just Germany and Italy. There's a lot of countries, they telling America, hey, your dollar is finished. We want gold. Germany and Italy have faced significant political and public pressure in 2025 to repatriate their gold reserves held in United States Federal Reserve vaults, driven by geopolitical concerns, trade tensions under Trump's policies, and greater financial sovereignty. That's why China and Canada are linking up like this. Canada said, give us all our gold back, right? We selling off all of that, and we linking up with China now. It's over. This is the last sign of America's economy finished. All you Negroes that want America to continue 10 more years, 15 more years, they're going to bounce back. It's just a slow season. It ain't a slow season. It's not getting better. It will not get better. All you men that trust in this system, you think things are going to kind of get back together. First of all, your mind not right. Second of all, your spirit not right. Third of all, it's not going to get better. The Most High shot arrows in the earth, like he said, and they will not return again. Gold is like $4,000 an ounce. And the world is turning back to that ancient standard of gold and silver. And this fiat currency, this paper money, this is finished. But this paper money is going to be worth trash. This economy's finished. They want their reserves. Give us our gold back. You know? And Brussels said the same thing. European countries, check this out, like Germany, Italy, and France are considering withdrawing their gold from the United States. Now that's 2025 in September. January 2026, it ain't no more considering. They said, give us all our gold. The hell with you. The hell with you, America. We not joining your peace, your border peace. And we want our gold back. It's a new woman in town. Her name is China. Right? Her name is China. And she's in town and she's going to treat us just fine. Right? She's going to treat us just fine. So a lot of these nations, man, like I said, they looking to withdraw gold. Let me type in what countries are withdrawing gold from the U.S. Okay, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Venezuela. Right? Because of Trump, man. Because of Trump, they all leaving. And they're going to cripple this economy. See, now America has the largest gold reserves. Now that's 2024. Now they say, give us your gold. You could use some Federal Reserve notes. You could use our dollars. Just give us some gold. These countries say, hey, look, man, the hell with your paper money. Give us our gold back. The hell with your paper money. All your hyperinflation, your Federal Reserve notes, we don't want no parts anymore. Give us our gold back. We doing trade with somebody else. Again, that's Obadiah. We brought that out last week. Obadiah, let's get that. Right? Let's lock here. Obadiah, get the classic. This is Obadiah. Oh, bear with me. I want to get verse 7. Obadiah, verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. None understanding. So all his allies, all his partners, they're going to turn against this system. And you're seeing that play out in real time, right? They're laying wounds. They're plotting with China. They're in bed with Russia. And these were once prominent allies, founders of NATO. And they're turning away from them, right? They're turning away. Let's get the classic. Revelation chapter 17 and verse number 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. All right, so these are different spirits that were going on and topics at the World Economic Forum. Here's another event. Germany is arresting 1,000 plus people a month for internet posts. Now, I saw a video too where they actually came to this guy's door because he was talking about the state of Israel. They pulled up to his door and they said, well, you talking about the so-called Jew? I saw at least 2 videos of federal agents showing up to people's door, damn near beating the door down, asking them, is this your account? Are you talking about the so-called Jew? And we might get a knock at the door. Is this your social media profile? Did you post this? Did you watch this YouTube video? 1,000 people in Germany for internet posts. Same thing in the United Kingdom. They're not playing out there in Europe. So that spirit is going to come to Babylon the Great. As part of them councils, is we are going, one of the main topics of discussion at the World Economic Forum was misinformation. Let me pull that up. That's a global risk. That's the global risk report, was misinformation. Let's see this. This is a global risk. Look at this. Where is it at? Look at this. Global risk. You know how heavy of a term that is? A risk for the entire humanity. Check out what it is. Number one, geoeconomic confrontation. But look at number two, misinformation and disinformation. Number two agenda at a crafty council is misinformation and disinformation. So that's why in Germany, they're arresting 1,000 people a month for misinformation. Now they're kicking down people's doors, asking them, did you post this? Are you an Israelite? That's what they're going to start asking. The damn, they might say, what tribe are you from? What camp are you in? Are these your YouTube subscriptions? Are you subscribed to this? That's the number two global risk. And all these other things are like a facade. Right? These are short term. Inequality, cyber insecurity, etc. But we're focusing on the second global risk at the World Economic Forum, funded by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and these king of Babylon, Lucifer, is misinformation and disinformation. Germany is arresting 1,000 people a month for internet posts, right? 1,000 people a month. And you can watch this, and that's what they're going into. Here's another thing. After X, formerly known as Twitter, opened up its algorithm, users discovered that those criticizing Israel were massively censored and had their reach reduced by 90%. They call that shadow banning. The entire algorithm is now based on whether the users criticize Israel. So that's what it's coming down to. That's what it's coming down to. Right? Are you going to criticize Israel or not? Are you going to criticize Israel or not? All right. So what else did I have? I know I'm running out of time. Let's see. Okay, this is something else. U.S. to cut roughly 200 NATO positions. This is just another sign. NATO's done, right? NATO's done. America, they're done with NATO. They're pulling out 200 positions, and they said, y'all can fight these wars on your own. We're going to do our own thing with the border peace. Right? Y'all could do your thing. We're going to do our thing. Right? Also, you got America has been sending ships and armada down there to the Middle East, and we're watching to see if they attack Iran. They say it could happen this weekend. I don't know. I'm not the Most High. I'm not an angel. Only the Most High know. But that's something for you brothers to keep watch on. These joint operations and its potential escalation of World War III. That's heavy right now. Remember, they used the Mossad and the CIA to cause those protests, and they were going to strike last week. But they pulled out because they didn't have enough resources. But the moment they pulled out, they sent more troops, more ships, more jets over there, and they may do it. I don't know. Again, I don't know. They could do it. So that's something you want to keep watch on. Keep watch with this conflict. U.S. officials are preparing for what could be the largest conflict in the Middle East. How Donald Trump is preparing for United States showdown with Iran. right? So this is a big deal. Keep watch. Keep watch. Okay, keep watch. I know I'm kind of breezing through these for sake of time, but keep watch. Here's another thing. This was posted by the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. And they just posted January 22nd, 2026, what a fiscal crisis would look like. So they went into what a financial crisis would look like and how it's going to play out. Now they made this for a reason. So you brothers check this out too. They posted and confessed that the economy's finished. It's just an open confession letter. It said, we're done. Here's how it's going to go. You see the gold, you see the silver, you see everybody ditching the dollar, wanting their gold back. We're going to go through a financial crisis. Here's how it's going to play out. Here, come look at it. Why would they make this if America's great again? If they're bouncing back, if we're in a golden age of America, why are you creating articles about what a fiscal crisis would look like and what a financial crisis in 2026 is going to do to us? I'm not going to read this whole thing, but they break it down. And they say pretty much we're done. America's done. The economy's collapsing. There's nothing we could do about it. But just for kicks and giggles, here's how it's going to go down. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4. Right? So there's a lot going on, man. You got war with Iran. You got these councils going on. You got confusion in high places. 1 Peter chapter 4 and 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. The end of all things is at hand. The economy is at an end. NATO and EU, the Roman Empire, is at an end. Peace is at an end. Elite agendas are at an end. Everything's coming to an end. People are dying, following out the truth. You know, all hell is breaking loose on the earth, man. And if they strike Iran anytime soon, that might kick off World War III. Now, we don't know again. We hope, we pray that these things happen, but the end of all things is at hand. We have to be sober. We have to control our spirit. Acknowledge that demon that's tempting you, and destroy that demon, or that demon will destroy you. And watch unto prayer, right? Watch unto prayer. So with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashma Mashiach Wamalak Bashai, Davos 2026, Antichrist, and the Lucifer's Council. Stay in prayer, stay in the spirit, examine yourselves, keep the Sabbath holy, no buying, no selling, no cooking, no work, no sex on the Sabbath, no speaking your own words, doing your own pleasures. Examine your spirit, pray, don't faint, read these accounts, watch these prophecies, and ask Yahweh Ba'ashma Shah, beg the Most High to not take the Holy Spirit from you in these last days, and that he guides you in the right direction. He establishes your way in truth. He doesn't give you over to a reprobate mind, to strange doctrines, to do things that are inconvenient, that he upholds you in integrity and allows your hand to prosper as you magnify his name in the last days. So again, Most High willing, you are edified. Look into these events that we're going into. You brothers should be watching and digging into these things yourself, man. Right? Looking at the geopolitics, looking at the economy, looking at the prophecies unfold, and watching in these last days. But with that, Most High willing, you are edified. Kwame Yasha. Shalom.